that, like when photography started, it was basically in the realm of, the inventor, the person who was coating their own emulsions, doing their own thing in terms of making their own. There wasn't really a Kodak. You couldn't go out and buy film, so you had to make your own. And that continued until, digital really came into its own around 2000. So we're still within the first 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Kodak didn't really come on the scene until, I believe it was the early 1900s. And that was where it became a consumer product, where people could buy a camera, send it off, and have their film developed. Prior to that, it was a very specialized kind of knowledge. So, really, you're looking at 80 years of where photography in the early days was really kind of esoteric. I mean, you had to really know what you were doing. You had to be part of
It was extremely specialized.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And only those who were either very wealthy or very motivated would actually do it. Mm-hmm. Using wet plate process. A wet plate process, for example, you've got to carry your darkroom with you. You've got to coat the glass plate, you've got to expose it, and you have to develop it before the plate dries.
Right. And so then the other side of that was then accessibility to photographs and documenting our lives. That was extremely rare as well, right? It would be an odd thing for a family to have more than one or two family photos a year, right?
That's right. And when in terms of the emergence and the democratization of photography, the early rage was to have a daguerreotype made. And daguerreotypes were in the early part of the 18th century, but it took the place of the portrait painters. And the portrait painters were basically out of work, because then people could afford to have their likeness basically recorded using a daguerreotype. Now it was, compared to today, it was a long process. You had to sit still for like 20 minutes, but still you were able to get a likeness.
And now we're almost at the other end of the scale, where we take so many photos that a lot of our family photos don't get printed off. So we're probably more at risk of losing.
Well, exactly, and it's one of the reasons why I'm going back to film, because I don't trust the technology. And in fact, I had a multimedia business for 10 years, and I have digital tapes, an entire portfolio, 10 years work that I cannot access because I didn't take the time and really make the effort. When I had access to the machine that could copy that digital data off of the tapes and put it onto an optical disc like a CD or DVD, I didn't take advantage of that at the time, and now I can't even find the tape players on eBay, never mind the software that would actually extract the digital. So it's 10 years of work literally gone.
Oh, hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah. So just because the format changed, and there's nothing saying, CDs and DVDs are on the way out now too. So what are we going to do? Are we going to store all of our stuff in the cloud, and then you're at the behest of someone else? I don't think so.
Yes.
And I can say that I have binders here. There are my binders down there. Mm-hmm. This was in the 70s and 80s. I have all of those years of my photo history, on these sleeves, and this sat in a archive box, I kid you not, for 20 years. And I can open these up, pull out the negatives, and they're as good as the day I developed them. And there's no way that if I had done that to my digital files that they would have survived. Even the digital files, as I say, that I don't have access to on tapes, that's less than 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so technology is changing so rapidly so we're losing access in that way. But the fact that we're not printing off all of our family photos because we take for granted that they will be there. The history is actually not being recorded on paper.
Right, and you're right. It is more at risk. Unless it's printed, yes, it's still at risk.
Good.